Thank you. Hi, everyone. I want to thank Mandy from JAG for introducing me to Martha so that I could be here with you all today. I've worked with most all of the systems that you work for and with over the 21 years I've lived and worked here in New Mexico and in the disability inclusion space. So just a little bit about me. I used to work at the Commission for the Blind. I actually used to be a state employee. And then on contract with Division of Oak Rehab for years on disability inclusion, accommodation, ADA training and such for a number of years, and working in the workforce and economic development space with regards to access and inclusion. And there is an emphasis there on transition, which is so exciting because I know that's the space you guys operate in, how to see students succeed. And I'll take that to the next step and say all students succeed regardless of diagnosis or disability. And transitioning to Best Buddies, this is an exciting opportunity for me to share with you all what we do here in New Mexico and in the larger context internationally. We are an international organization founded in 1989 out of Georgetown University, out of a dorm room for college students. We've been in New Mexico since 2008, and I myself have been state director for just about a year and a half. I was actually recruited into this position and very humbled by the fact that I was asked to lead our work here. Let's see. Oh, I can't just use my little arrows. I have to find it on the screen here. I do a lot on Teams, and so I'm sure it's a little bit differently than Zoom. So our mission with Best Buddies incorporates a lot of what I've done in the past, but is founded, the foundation of what we do is friendships. Because there's specifically with what we call IDD, population, intellectual and developmental disabilities is our focus with Best Buddies. Now there can be a lot of cases with multiple diagnoses, physical disabilities plus intellectual and or developmental disabilities, as most of us know. So our emphasis is really creating a global movement for social inclusion of people with IDD, and to take that to, I like to say, social and economic inclusion. So we do that through a number of ways, and as I mentioned, when we talk about what does it mean to be inclusive, what does it mean to have access to anything in society, whether it's education, access to transportation, certainly. It's the ability to form and establish relationships. And then that friendship component is really the crux of Best Buddies, to look at ways to end social isolation of this distinct population. Distinct, but also huge umbrella. IDD covers a lot of different things, everything from autism spectrum, Down syndrome, Fragile X, learning disabilities. So a lot of students with IEPs in one form or another would fall under the IDD category. So our programs, and actually, can you see, am I like too big up here? Let me reduce us down so you can just really see, not just us me talking. We accomplish our work through the friendships being the base, one-to-one friendship. So we create matches, but we have chapters, school chapters, starting in elementary school, all the way up through college, where we started in 1989. So those are they really operate like social clubs with group activities. And then we look at supporting one-to-one matches between students, what we call typical students, the typical peers, and the students with IDD. And then we have we have toolkits and supports for the school advisors, so that they can really make their chapter their own and set the activities and schedules of how they want to interact, whether it's having lunch all together as the Best Buddies chapter once a week, and then having an activity off campus, or like a pizza party after school once a month, those types of things. We leave that up to them. And it's a really beautiful way to encourage those really important conversations earlier on in life, in students' lives, disability or not, around stigma, stereotypes, exclusionary behavior, bullying, labeling, right? Stereotyping. A lot of the things that we talk about in all of our current work around DE&I, right? So the goal is to normalize disability, to normalize IDD, and to reduce that isolation. Leadership development is an important part of what we do. And so we actually have an ambassador program where we have trainings throughout the year for students to increase their self-advocacy, how to speak up for themselves, how to talk clearly about their needs, about their disability, if they so choose, and public speaking skills in general. We also look for opportunities for folks in the community to volunteer and support that work, to be one-on-one speech coaches, folks to just come in the audience and listen to when our students work on their speeches and present them. So it's not just to their peers, that they have a wider audience, and a really great opportunity to have that overall community support and engagement. Integrated employment, that is critical to the work that we do, and I know touches on a lot of areas with this group as well. When students with IDD graduate, there's not always a clear roadmap, and higher ed isn't always the answer, and generally is not. And unfortunately, a lot of families, in addition to the students, don't always anticipate or think about or plan or what's going to happen after school. Transition age, as defined nationally, goes up to either, in some cases, 21 years old or 24 years old, depending on the services being acquired. But really, we see a lot of folks falling through gaps once they leave a school setting. And so how to close those gaps and close those cracks is our jobs program. And there'll be some more slides on that in a moment. And we have a couple transition programs that aren't even on our pillars slide here that I'm so proud to say we offer in New Mexico, and that'll be the crux of my presentation with you all today. Inclusive living is something that is a newer component of Best Buddies, and there's 2 sites nationally now for integrated inclusive living, in Georgetown, where it all started, and in Miami, where our headquarters is. I keep trying to use the arrows, my apologies. So Best Buddies chapters in New Mexico, what that looks like, what is our footprint in the schools here in New Mexico. Our offices are based here in Albuquerque, although I do have a part-time program manager based in Las Cruces. My overall team is nine staff, including myself, and that includes our jobs program and our friendship programs staff as well. But we are currently in 50 schools, and that breaks down to 11 elementary, 8 middle, 29 high schools, and 2 colleges, NMSU and UNM. So we have presence in the Four Corners, down south, and in Deming as well. We're really excited about the fact that we just opened 3 chapters in the Farmington area, actually in Aztec and Bloomfield. So we're currently serving 436 students, which is really exciting. My goal is for us to be in every public school in the state. So we'll get there, right? So part of our continuation of supports throughout the lifespan includes our Citizens chapter, which is for adults who aren't currently in high school. A lot of the young adults are in this program, but we've got some folks in their 40s. And we currently have 30 members in this group. We have 2 group social activities per month. And we have a wait list for one-to-one matches with these adults. So we do background checks, and we find good matches based on similar interests of adult volunteers in the community who wish to have a more significant longer-term friendship with one of our adult citizen buddies. Here's a couple more pictures of citizens events. We do bowling, we do karaoke, we do pizza. It's a really fun group. Some of our leadership work here, the leadership development, every year we have a leadership conference. It's actually generally national, but because of COVID, we had it virtual for a couple of years. This last year, this picture right here under the BBLC 22 is our New Mexico leadership conference that was held in July at Explora here in Albuquerque, where we brought student leaders, chapter leaders, and advisors to be trained and inspired and encouraged and given lots of great tools and ideas to implement their school year and to support the self-advocacy and growth of their buddies in their chapters and their schools at large. I will say, I'm very excited to say that we have a global ambassador here from Albuquerque that came through our school chapter program and our internship program, which I'll talk about in a moment, and is a current jobs participant who's gainfully employed. And she was chosen by Best Buddies International to represent New Mexico on a global stage. And so she's getting a lot of leadership training and opportunities for speaking in forums, and we'll have the opportunity to travel as well. She's 24 years old and just an amazing motivational speaker, an awesome human being. Her name's Vanessa. Very happy to have her part of the program. So pre-ETS, let's talk about this for a second. We have a program at Best Buddies that's growing. We in New Mexico are one of 9 states across the country that offers pre-ETS services. It stands for Pre-Employment Transition Services. And this is, as you see by the slide, it's actually mandated by WIOA. And actually 15% of every state's vocational rehab budget based on this WIOA mandate should be allocated to pre-ETS services for high school students in special ed who qualify, who have a qualifying disability. They can also have a 504, not just an IEP. And so we're really excited that this last year we were able to roll out. We work in partnership under contract with the Division of Voc Rehabilitation. And our goal was to serve 98 students, and we have the capacity to travel and be around the state. And we have been doing that. But a lot of our work has been here in Albuquerque. I'm happy to say that we've served 126 students to date. And we'll break that down a little bit. But what pre-ETS is really a curriculum that we deliver in the classroom in collaboration with the special ed teacher and the transition services specialist in those schools. We talk to them about what the needs are for their distinct student population. Where can we meet with students where they are at that point in the school year. We generally look at serving 10th and 11th graders to start talking about what they want to do when they grow up. Oftentimes students in special ed in general, but specifically students with IDD, aren't always asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so even just starting there, right? It seems like a really basic question that maybe we all kind of take for granted, but it's an important one to have. So self-advocating and mentoring are key components of this. Job exploration counseling, that what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you like? What are your skills? What do you want to explore? What do you want to learn? A lot of hard and soft skill training, hygiene is important, behaviors, attitudes, expectations in the workplace, things like this. We have a highly customizable curriculum that really can be responsive to each school's needs and classroom's needs. And we generally have about six sessions per first cycle. We can, do that over again, but we look at how can we matriculate folks through. But it's still fairly new throughout the country too for Best Buddies. But those are the great conversations that we're having with DVR and with our schools to say, how can we follow these students along and get them to that next step in career preparation, but also, to contemplate, is there a pathway to higher ed, to continuing education in some capacity after high school. So this slide just shows the national impacts year over year since we started Priyat's work at Best Buddies, working with states and school districts. So you see how that's grown. And then what that looks like here in New Mexico. As I was mentioning, we have the goal of 98 students in our first year this year. And we really launched things in February once we did initial outreach to schools, and a lot of the education that we had to do. Interestingly, when Martha and I were talking about what things to kind of hit on with this group in particular, is that not every school, not every special ed teacher or director necessarily knew that Priyat's was like a federally mandated kind of requirement, and that we were, that we're all on the same team, that we're all here to collaborate and support each other so that we can help our students meet their goals, to successfully complete school and to successfully transition out to school and have a roadmap, an idea of what comes next after school. So we found, a lot of the learning and conversations with DVR and PED have been, how can we get everyone on the same page across the state as we engage in this work? We are one of 3 contractors with Division of Voc Rehab here, providing Priyat services. But we are the only one that has the capacity and ability to go statewide. We have a lot more flexibility that way, and very, very happy to be able to offer that and to see how we can expand our capacity as an organization to meet those needs. And I will say too that, a big reason why we're contracted is because, as we all know, that the capacity and, the hiring challenges with teaching staff across any area is challenging. And so there's a lot of gaps and vacancies currently with transition services in school districts and on down from the DVR standpoint as well. So we're here to see how we can help fill the gaps even just on that side in terms of providing those transition services. So when we look at how students matriculate through opportunities and programs and services that we provide, a lot of what we do in partnership, right? As you all do. We have to look at how we can dovetail our services and programs and support each other, and how to maximize each other's strengths. And so Project Search is a national program. I don't know if you all have heard of it or not, but it is a national program. And here in New Mexico, it's actually administered by CDD, the Partners for Employment, based at UNM's Center for Development and Disability, in partnership with Division of Voc Rehab. And then it partners with our local school districts, in this case, APS, but there are sites in other parts of the state, namely in Farmington. The city of Farmington is, the municipality is actually the Project Search site for Farmington, and working with the Farmington School District. And Gallup actually has a Project Search site at their Hilton Garden Suites. And let me go back, there are some pictures of our projects. These photos right here of Gallup. We did a week-long community-based intensive of Priyats, and our program manager of transitions went out and stayed there at the Project Search site, the Hilton Garden Suites, and we camped out for a week with the students that were selected to do day-long interactive workshops and team building and self-advocacy and problem solving, and some career exploration. It was really exciting. So we have lots of opportunities and options as to how to deliver that program. And so that Priyats creates a really great pipeline of more qualified and prepared candidates, student candidates, as they look to transition out of high school to have work-based employment. So opportunities and some more training before entering the world of work. So Project Search is an internship based program, and we at Best Buddies are the community rehabilitation provider for 2 Project Search sites here in Albuquerque. At UNM Hospitals, we're in our 8th year, like 8 years, even through COVID, pretty phenomenal. And Embassy Suites, we're in our 5th year there, actually 6th year. And so what Project Search is a post-high school transition program for students with disabilities. So working with APS, DVR, the host sites, and all the folks on the ground in those host sites, the students go through 3 10-week internships at the host business, and they learn those transferable job skills and build their resumes. There's also a classroom component where the students work on independent living and employability skills. The end goal of this program is competitive, gainful employment. So as community rehab provider, Best Buddies provides on-site job coaching and skills training and supports. And then we provide job development. Oops, we don't see that. Sharing my screen, all of these things coming up. Okay. And then here's a couple more pictures of our current interns doing their different rotations. So that leads to the job development work is a nice transition out of Project Search to integrated employment and our jobs program. Those students will transition onto our jobs program caseload. And then with our relationships that we've developed with employers and other employers that we look to engage through lots of different ways, predominantly right now, Society of Human Resource Managers. I've worked with them for years, and my jobs team is now engaged with them and going to their monthly meetings and getting to know the HR community, and for them to get to know us as a resource for them, right? ROI, business-based, hiring, to the point where, the goal is to hire someone who's qualified, whether they have a disability or not, right? So, and why Best Buddies? So we come with lots of tools from our national platform. We're one of 19 states that offer a jobs program here in New Mexico. But we looked to have competitive employment opportunities. We've got our DE&I training that we can provide to employers. We've got toolkits, and we provide a life cycle support. The goal is we go in a little bit more intensively in terms of job supports and coaching in the beginning of a hire, again, depending on what that individual's needs are. And then the goal is to slowly, back away from that individual so they can operate and work as independently as possible. But then we have check-ins once a month to make sure everything's going well, check in with the employer, make sure they're doing well and are satisfied and happy with their employee. And every caseload that we have, every individual on our caseload, we look at making sure that 100% of our jobs participants have the ability to transport themselves independently. And this is a big step for a lot of families who are used to driving their young adults around. And so oftentimes there's a lot of training and coaching that goes on with the parents and families oftentimes. As equally, if not more so in some cases, as participants who are really eager to have that independence and the skills to navigate the bus system, to effectively call and schedule the Sun Van for their transportation needs. And so why all this work is important for integrated employment, 82%, I don't know if you can see, it seems like it says I'm screen sharing, and it's cutting off some of the image. But 82% of individuals with IDD do not have a paid job in the community. I'm just gonna let that land. That's a huge disparity, a huge gap. As I mentioned, here in New Mexico, in terms of the Best Buddies footprint, here are the states, the 19 states that that actually have a jobs program. Here in New Mexico, our jobs program was the anchor and the first program created that helped form our Best Buddies affiliate. And then some of our national jobs data. We've had over 1,000 successful integrated placements nationally. Average work week is about 20 hours. And the average rate is $14.57 an hour. We maintain a 94% retention rate nationally. And then this is what I'm so proud of. Well, here's some of our national employer partners. TJX is a big one here that we work with. We've got quite a few of our jobs participants happily employed at Marshall's, also Chick-fil-A, as well as Embassy Suites offered intern who came out of our project search last year, full permanent employment in their kitchen, which is really, really cool. But what that looks like here in New Mexico is we have a full caseload. When we say how many participants in our jobs program do we serve, it's about 65. But of those 65, 45 participants are currently supported in integrated employment. That means those are 45 participants who are gainfully employed. So we have about 20 participants who are what we call in job development. So actively seeking employment and working with them to skill up and helping them do job searches, prepare for interviews, be there to support them for interviews and that sort of thing. So our average is a little bit higher of hours worked per week, 24.48. And our average of pay is $12.14. And we have a 96% retention rate here in New Mexico, a couple points higher than the national average, which I'm so proud of my team for creating those great supports. And so the ways to get involved, ways for community to get involved to support our buddy participants throughout the lifespan really of our programs. Be a buddy, help start a chapter. If you have students or children and whether they have disabilities or not, and the chapter doesn't exist in their school, we can look at starting a chapter in those schools. Career-based presentations, how to support folks on self-advocacy and leadership development. We connect professionals in the community to help us with mock interviews and the speech coaches, and of course, hiring a participant is always a big goal of ours. So here's our contact information, and there's the end of my presentation.